We've been going on for a whole lot of years, almost 200 years without a lot of these bills, so we'll probably last 2 more years without them. We'll see.
You know, at the beginning of a session, you file a bill, you're full of hope, you've got all kinds of time, everything's possible. And as the session begins to wind down and gets busier, you lose time on the clock.
The mood now is one of a feeling of immediacy. How's my stuff doing and what's moving and who do I go talk to?
You know how I know we're almost done is the amount of shirts that I have this session. If one more round of dry cleaning, and I'm gonna make it to the end. This place, it's a lot about not giving you something that you want or need, but denying you something that you might want or need at the end.
We live in such a big, diverse state, but yet the legislature only meets once every 2 years for 140 days. It's very difficult.
If 6,000 bills are being talked about, and yours is just one of them, there's not really much you can do. Members see the end of the session coming and begin to do all of the things in legislative ER to save their bills that they can.
I mean, bills are dying. They're dying right now. You have to be realistic about what you can do in the time that you're going to do it. This is an awful way to put it, but you have to kind of pick your favorite child and say, this is the one that we're going to save, and the rest of them are not. Oh shit, I gotta go.
It's not designed to pass bills, it's designed to kill them. And most bills die. And the end of a session is where you find out for sure this bill lived or that one died.
Recently, I have seen and been made aware of some of the most concerning behavior I have witnessed in my time as a legislator. I am saddened by the acts of a few individuals that have stolen the conversation about legislation that I deeply care about.
The constitutional carry bill was filed this session by State Representative Jonathan Stickland, a Republican from Bedford. He's championed this issue before. Constitutional carry is a proposal to let Texans carry firearms without a permit. Up until this most recent episode, it was still languishing in the legislature, and I think that was fueling a lot of the angst that you saw.
We were hoping that it was going to be a little bit better chance of it, getting some traction this session now with the new speaker, with Speaker Bonnen. So I did want to leave one of these on his house just so that way he knows that, we're out here.
Chris McNutt, vocal supporter of constitutional carry, in the words of, I think, some local media, was intercepted by DPS officers in the vicinity of the House Speaker Dennis Bonnen's residence, and at least according to Bonnen, this was a step too far. McNutt claims that he did nothing to threaten these families and was not, looking to intimidate anyone.
It was just exercising First Amendment rights to promote a bill and hold politicians accountable.
The whole episode with McNutt basically dealt a death blow to the chances of constitutional carry at the Capitol. After it was reported, Stickland, the author of the bill, came out and basically said that he was going to be abandoning his push for it.
There is a right way and a wrong way to influence the legislative process. It's never okay to target their homes or personal businesses.
We would have heard constitutional carry, but for a group of individuals that decided it was more important to act unsettling, for lack of a better word, and then threatening, if you want to put the worst spin on it.
Especially as we get toward the end of the session, we need to exercise civility, we need to exercise good judgment, good prudence.
At the end of any legislative session, nerves start to fray, and you see that in the form of some of the activism surrounding the Chris McNutt episode. Both inside the Capitol and outside the Capitol, there's definitely a growing sense that it's crunch time as people realize what realistically is going to be passed.
Paid sick leave was supposed to be a slam dunk in the Republican-dominated Texas legislature. Last year, the city of Austin passed an ordinance mandating that private businesses provide paid sick leave to their employees, and Republican lawmakers made it pretty clear that when they came back to Austin in January, they were going to override those from the state level. 2 identical bills were filed in the House and the Senate, but before the Senate version got a committee hearing, it was completely overhauled and kind of turned on its head, and one provision which protected local non-discrimination ordinances was taken out of the bill. A non-discrimination ordinance, or an NDO, is basically a local law that says you can't treat people differently based on their gender identity or sexual orientation. You can't fire me because I'm gay. You can't refuse to let me rent this house because I'm transgender. So that got advocacy groups really concerned that this bill could actually threaten these really important protections for their communities.
We urge the legislature to oppose all discriminatory legislation and instead focus on policies that benefit all Texans.
What's happening with paid sick leave?
They went in and stripped that language. Now, why would you strip that language? Other than you want to do away with non-discrimination ordinances.
The bill's author and the business groups that have kind of backed this from the beginning have been clear that it was never their intention to threaten those local non-discrimination ordinances, but nevertheless, the concern about it from these advocacy groups was enough to kind of poison the original version of the bill.
Some of those concerns early on were just not based on reliable information. Case law says that unless it's unmistakably clear that cities are precluded from advancing non-discrimination ordinances, then it's arguable that they're allowed to continue to do so.
That bill was basically going to die. So what happened then was the author of the bill broke it into smaller pieces, thinking that would be easier to pass, and apparently that worked out because those bills have now passed.
Bills change all through the process. We decided to break them up as a strategy to get some reconsideration, and that worked.
I asked him questions specifically on the floor about what his intent was. And I pointed out, well, if you really want your intent to be sure it conforms with the law, then all you have to do is put those words in your bill. And he refused.
The scope narrowed into specific issues, and it made the non-discrimination ordinance language unnecessary.
Senator Brandon Creighton, the author of the 4 bills, says that they have no impact on local non-discrimination ordinances, but advocacy groups and the lawyers they've consulted say that these bills do still present a threat to local non-discrimination ordinances.
Yeah, those legal experts never approach me, so that's always interesting when opinions fly around the building, establishing a narrative that never was my own.
When you get to this point in session, I think you have to be creative in how you're going to get bills across the finish line, especially when certain bills draw lots of criticism early on in the process.